everybody, welcome back to my channel and to another biscuit decoration video. Today we've got some vulva and uterus biscuits, and I have invited these lovely women here to chat about menopause and aging and all of that glorious stuff. So we have Mandy, Lou and Karen, and I'm just gonna let you guys take it away.
All right, let's decorate some vulvas. What do you do? We've never met before. Well, we've never met before.
So I'm a GP and a menopause specialist. I've got a particular interest in younger people who are experiencing menopause. I've written a book about POI and early menopause. That's sort of my passion.
That's your area. And what's the book called?
The book is called, thank you, it's called The Complete Guide to POI and Early Menopause. POI stands for Premature Ovarian Insufficiency. Back to you.
You, Lou.
I don't even know how to describe myself.
An accidental middle-aged influencer dedicated to empowering people to live their lives, seize their confidence and sexuality in middle age, and say fuck it to the menopause.
So my name's Karen Arthur. I am a podcast host and a fashion creative and an advocate for positive aging. And also my podcast is called Menopause Whilst Black, and it exists to diversify the menopause.
There's 1 billion people out there right now going, so why is your menopause so different?
A billion.
We got a lot of ignorance in the world. Let's change that.
We all have a very similar experience, and it doesn't take away, the way we access menopause care or try to access menopause care doesn't necessarily take away from anybody else. But black people who experience menopause do experience menopause 8.5 months earlier than our white counterparts and up to 2 years earlier. And that's research from the Swan Report.
I was going to say, what's the science behind that?
The science, I don't know what there's hardly any research, because there's hardly any research about menopause alone, women's bits. Why would we do that? However, the Swan Report in 2018, I know it's American based, but it does say that African American women, people who experience menopause, and Hispanic women experience menopause earlier and suffer for longer, often from things like hot flushes and stuff like that. So it's a thing. My podcast exists because before it existed, there was no one talking about the cultural nuances of menopause. And then people weren't talking about menopause anyway. But actually you can hear a story 7 or 8 times, and it's not until, let's say, the 9th time when you hear it from someone who looks like you or has a similar experience to you that you can go, oh, actually I'm not alone.
That.
And that's the point of talking, isn't it? This is why we're decorating biscuits of vulvas.
Breaking down boundaries.
Yeah. I think one of my best parenting techniques is letting my child watch really age-inappropriate reality television shows.
Right.
But my son and I had the best conversations,
Well,
even
then
if
there
it was
you go.
like, I don't want to behave like that, or that's a shitty way to treat another human being on Love Island.
Yeah.
Like, at least it had conversations. And so, because all you have when they reach puberty or get older is you want them to at least be able to have conversations with you when they've got someone pregnant or...
But it's also important to make them realize that you have different roles, that you're a woman, a mother, a daughter, and that you're not just one role. You know, your son may only see you as a mother, and he wouldn't think about you having an active sex life, right?
I know. Can you imagine? Imagine having a mum that sells vibrators for a living.
But then it shouldn't be a taboo that older women have a pleasurable sex life, right? And why would that stop only because you're suddenly menopausal? That plays into it. So the identity of who you are when you change, when your body changes and your whole attitude, does it have to change?
I think what I love about these conversations also is that, the demographic who are watching this might not necessarily be experiencing menopause right now.
No.
And so the conversation you're having with your son, these conversations that I have with my daughters who are 28 and 32, it means that when they get to an age where they start to experience menopause, it's not going to bite them in the bum or any other,
Where did you learn about the menopause from? Because my mum had Alzheimer's, so I had no one.
Wow.
I didn't have my mum to ask, and my dad couldn't remember when my mum started the menopause.
Yeah.
And actually, interesting, on Instagram, my largest demographic of people who follow me is 33, which blows my mind. I love that.
that. I feel like the old wise woman from, you know, like from the old days.
Pass me the stars. I am listening, honestly.
Like the tribal chief that you go to, the wise elder woman, and people go to for advice.
Yeah.
That's who I feel like women are looking ahead, or humans are looking ahead to see how it could be. And I actually was blessed with a relatively easy menopause. I didn't have too many.
Define easy. Yeah, because
easy,
I say that,
I didn't
and then
have
I forget
horrific.
that I went through anxiety and depression, and that part of that was I didn't know that was related to menopause. So define easy. Do you know what I mean?
I suppose I didn't have. I don't know.
You mean physical symptoms?
Yeah, they weren't
like hot flushes and stuff.
I had still, look at me, look at the state of me. Ruins my outfits many a day. And usually when I'm on camera, I found it quite positive experience because I find the thought of change quite exciting and embracing it. And for me, it's been one of the best, most positive chapters of my life because I found my confidence in middle age and I found myself at age 50.
Same.
Like, what the fuck is that about? How did that take so long?
Yeah, man.
That's what annoys me. I share very much my personal journey online because I'm about being real. I don't see the point in pretending.
As we get older, society encourages us to become invisible, and we kind of lose ourselves because we've often spent decades looking after other people because society and patriarchy loves us to give to other people. So fashion kind of takes a back seat. You look for something that is quick and easy and you don't have to iron it, that kind of thing. You look for stuff that's dark, that will hide your body. Your body starts to change, all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of why I know it's why you dress the way you dress. It's why I dress the way I dress. There's a strong correlation between choosing clothes that lift your mood, where you're happy, and actually feeling better. When you wear what you want to wear and do what you want to do with fashion, it empowers people, especially older women, I would say.
I think so.
Or people socialised as women, to do that as well. And that little thing that you feel like it's a little thing, but it's huge what you did in terms of, you know, because we go for what we know, don't we? Our comfort zones are there. They're called that for a reason, right?
But we also have spent so long worrying about everybody else's.
Mate.
That's the thing. We are designed to accommodate some bugger else. And so we're built for that. And so from age 10, our body changes every damn month so we can prepare ourselves to accommodate another human being.
That's a really good
and we
point.
spend our entire life putting ourselves at the bottom of the list. I have to say I got to probably about 48, woke up one morning, instantly just found I gave less fucks and went, hang on, things have got to change. But then it's tricky, isn't it, when you've been in a marriage for that long, suddenly start trying to move the dynamic around in the relationship. That didn't go well. How did you find out about the menopause?
How did I find out about it? So, actually, no, considering I'm a doctor, a GP, right?
How long have you been a
I
GP?
have, 20 years now. But we were not taught about this in medical school. We were not taught about this during our GP training. Not a great deal, no. No, it was mentioned by the by. There was no real in-depth training about how to mention. It was supposed to be a natural process. It wasn't a priority. So I was perimenopause and I had health problems myself. And then I realized if I, as a doctor, can't get help, how does the ordinary person who is not medically trained, if I didn't know what's going on with me, how does any other person get help or know what's going on? When you have something happening to you, you have an interest in. So I personally, I studied, I read everything I could from a medical point of view. Then I did courses, then I specialized, and then I became a menopause specialist with the British Menopause Society. I was like a dog that got a bone.
How long ago was it?
That was probably 5 years ago now.
Oh, wow, so
before it became
Yeah. So how do you personally, do you learn from social media? Was it from personal experience? What was your first encounter?
Asking questions, I think. Can we just talk about the fact that I love it? Women are like, this has happened to me. What do? I know, I shall study and share. And I will share my knowledge with other women because that's what women do. We pivot and spin. And that's our specialty. That comes with all the preparing to take care of everybody else and putting everybody else first. That is our speciality, I think. That's why the change is so exciting to me because this chapter is about us and not the kids.
But I certainly know you do. Embrace aging in a positive way because we've been through the not so positive parts of it. But the other side to that is, I was watching something on Instagram today and this woman had hit 50 and she was saying that she's seeing all these posts about when people get to 50 and they start to go through menopause and it's empowering and it makes you feel better and it gives you a voice. And she said, and I don't feel like that actually, I feel a little bit shit. I think it would be interesting to have a conversation about how, if you're watching this or you're listening to this and you don't feel great, you don't feel like putting on all the clothes, or wearing all the colours or you feel like disappearing, what kind of advice you would give to, you know, give to people who feel that way? Because social media encourages comparison, doesn't it? And whilst in some senses that can be good, often literally comparison is the thief of joy.
Right.
I should be positive, I should feel that way. Why don't I feel that way?
Have you done cold water
When's it
swimming
gonna
this week?
happen? Do you know?
that'll
Yeah,
save your
right. Have you journaled?
Because guess what?
Gratitude. Where's the gratitude?
It's hard, isn't it, though?
No, it's
hard,
really
isn't
hard.
it?
It's a series of tiny things, isn't it? I don't think it's one.
And it's also not constant, sorry. It's not linear. So just because one day you might be feeling on top of the world and you're going to do all the things and tackle your to-do list and add a few more, and the other day you just want to go back to bed and
some days I don't even want to get out of bed. One day I'm going to
made
save
out
the
of
world,
Vulvas.
and the next day I don't want to get out of bed. I've learnt and taught myself those dark days when I don't want to get out of bed, then just stay in damn bed.
Yes,
Be very
beds are great.
unapologetic.
Naps are great.
Unapologetic about it, and then get up again when I'm ready, and I'll go when I'm ready. When I'm going through a hard phase in life, I actually get quite excited because I'm like, if I'm sinking, I'm like, okay, you're sinking,
You're
you're
gonna come
sinking,
out.
but that means something real good's coming.
Yeah.
And so
agree.
with menopause and age comes a little bit of wisdom, which is very exciting. A lot of wisdom. I don't even, do you know what? I'm trying to remember where I learned about the menopause, and I don't actually know.
Was it going through it?
Going
Was it just
through it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
and
it's
a lot
been
of
going
us
through it.
at this age now, on the vanguard, I guess, of talking about menopause, we learnt about it because we were going through it. I mean, that's quite incredible.
But you know what is interesting as well, that every person's experience is completely individual and different. So when you earlier said, Karen, I think you said that comparison is the thief
of joy.
of joy.
It's a thing.
So I think this is a problem that I see sometimes when I do my patients, where they may go on some treatment or they may have expectations about a treatment, or you kind of advise them on how to manage physical symptoms, and that treatment may not work for them, but they may have a friend who will say, oh, you know, HRT is a miracle cure for me, and then they feel, why did it not work for me in the same way? It's because we're all individuals and we have to see our journey on an individual basis, but at the same time I think women can do a great deal to support each other as well.
People are asking me, how long did it take? My menopause hit me, you know, like a truck out of nowhere.
How old were you?
So I was 51,
Okay.
and I'm 61 now, and my daughters had gone to uni,
gone.
and that I had the house to myself.
You have space.
And I had space, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna love being on my own. I know where all my clothes are. The tops will be on everything. You know, the dishes will stay, whatever. And I liked it for about 2 days.
What were you saying earlier about when you go through the menopause younger? What do you call it? POI?
So POI is a bit different. It's premature ovarian insufficiency, where ovaries just do not work properly. So ovaries make testosterone, estrogen and progesterone. And from the age of 11 onwards, they start working, they get us through puberty, you know, they contribute to sexual development, breast growth, strong bones, and then we have our menstrual cycles. And when this stops, so when periods stop for 4 months or longer in someone under the age of 40, the only message I want you to remember from me today is go and see your doctor.
Under 40?
Puberty till age 40, but it applies to those up till 45. It is not normal to skip periods for 4 months in a row, unless you're pregnant. So the first thing you do a pregnancy test, if that could be the case. There are other reasons why periods might be stopping, but it's just important that we all get this message as that it's not normal, and that there are treatable causes for this, and if there's something that needs to be investigated, and doctors need to be educated about this as well. And so often those who go and see the doctor are dismissed and told it's just stress, go away, it will come back. But actually it is a serious health condition when it happens under the age of 45. So between the age of 40 and 45, if you're skipping periods for more than 4 months and you have very few periods, you could be in early menopause. If you're under 40, it could be premature ovarian insufficiency. And that's a medical condition, so that's not a normal menopause. We talk about normal menopause between the ages of 45 onwards. So if you start to experience, not symptoms so much, because perimenopause can happen in the early 40s, but that could be someone who still has regular periods or slightly irregular periods, but still have symptoms. But that's not early menopause.
We need to get away from the idea of symptoms just being physical things. I mean, a lot of people
anxiety,
who start to experience
exactly.
menopause,
Yeah.
anxiety, you might have never had a history of anxiety before or any kind of difficult mental well-being, just like me, and then suddenly you're kind of worried about what people are thinking about you, you're concerned about not being able to do your job, job. I was forgetting to go to meetings, forgetting things that I absolutely had a handle on before. I thought I was going to get the sack. I thought if I spoke to anybody, and because no one was making that connection to menopause, and that's the point. We spend a lot of time talking about hot flushes, dry vagina, putting on weight, wrinkle, all that's the physical outside stuff. But what about the stuff that makes you feel not like you? And that's often where relationships start to break down. I broke up with my partner of 20 years, who was a dickhead, at 44. And
Do you regret it?
realised, what? Are you joking?
I didn't.
Not only do I not regret splitting up with my partner, it was the right thing to do. I started to listen to myself. I left my teaching job of 28 years, a career I was very good at.
That's a lot of changes at once.
That's a lot of changes. It was a few years later, but that was when I hit menopause because
It's a
I just
journey,
couldn't
right?
do it anymore. But
It's a
again,
journey.
no one's making the connection.
No.
So I think
The
we-
rages.
Yeah.
My relative said to me the other day, they were struggling with their partner, and they said, well, you don't know, I'm not, I said, that sounds really unfair and out of balance. You should try having a conversation. And she said, well, it's not all one-sided because I have these rages. And I said, well, that sounds pretty perimenopausal to me. How about you trot along to the doctors, or at least talk to your husband about it? And she went, oh, he's too prudish. And I went, what, to talk about the menopause?
But it's
They're
so
clearly not having
common.
anal sex.
So common.
So common.
Yeah, it's so
And
common.
I learned from a friend of mine. I said to her, what was your mum's menopause like? She went, we all just talk about the jar of jam. And her mum threw a jar of jam at the wall, and the whole family, this normally for years and years placid, quiet woman, threw a jar of jam at the wall, and the whole family just sat there watching the jam go down the wall. And she went, and that's when we all realised that the rate.
So the average age in the UK when periods stop on average is 51. People who experience this are often much younger because when your period stops, things happen before then. You experience symptoms before your period stops, and that's called the perimenopause. So that can be as young as early 40s, late 30s sometimes. That has nothing to do with early menopause. You may have regular periods, you may not have any physical symptoms, but you may already start to experience some anxiety that Karen mentioned earlier, sleep disruption, stress resilience, emotional upsets, and you may not have any other symptoms other than that, and wonder what's happening. So early menopause, to differentiate the two, is when your periods stop under the age of 45 or between the age of 40 and 45, fewer and fewer periods, and then they stop altogether. So one of the rules is 4 months of no periods should be investigated for early menopause. And those under 40 who experience called oligomenorrhea, so very, very few.
What is that?
Oligomenorrhea, so it's just Greek, medical Greek for having very few periods.
Oh, it sounded like something you catch from a dodgy night out.
And that's what the word doctors use. So this is a symptom that should be investigated. You may not have any other symptoms other than skipping periods. We really should not be doing this until we're sort of in our mid-40s.
Mid-40s. Oh my God, the sleep.
Sleep. I think a lot of mental health problems come
from
because of sleep
Thank
deprivation.
you. They really do. That's why I had postnatal depression for 2 years. It was literally, I was tired out of my actual brain. But I discovered, after about a year of last sleep, a good wank, straight back to sleep. And sleeping naked. Do you know, it's funny actually, you look back at the journey, and this is why I love being out online talking about it, because you sort of, you examine your journey. Well, you get to middle age and start looking at your journey in a different way anyway. And menopause is such a huge chapter of the closure of what's gone before and what's going to come next. But I realised that I've been blaming my husband for not sleeping with me for too much while going to bed in a tracksuit for 10 years, which does now on reflection seem quite mixed messaging. But then when we separated and I went into the spare room, I started sleeping naked, and it was such a game changer. I found myself finding myself quite sexy again and touching myself, which I'd not done for years and years and years. But also, when you have a hot flush, it's a lot more practical. Oh my God, so sexy.
Hot flushes, night sweats, whatever. They're talking to people about menopause and talking about how many different symptoms they are and reminding ourselves that everybody's different. Because I've never had a hot flush in bed.
Haven't you?
No, never at night. Never had night
lucky
sweats.
thing.
Always just after I had coffee, or just after I had a drink, some rum or whatever. And all it did is it meant that I cut down on my drink, but also it meant I made conscious decisions about drinking. So it didn't stop me. It just meant that, I knew it was like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, whoosh, you know, that kind of thing.
No way, that's
But
fascinating.
we're all so different, and we experience menopause in such different ways. And I think that, you know, what you're talking about, going to bed naked, that kind of thing, all of these things, we need to be so patient around our own menopause care, because even, I mean, you touched on HRT earlier, but even when you decide, I might take HRT, I might decide to go a different route, I might try lots of things, we still have to look at our diet, look at, you know, what we're consuming, look at alcohol. You know, there are so many other factors to take into consideration, and to be patient with ourselves, because even HRT, it takes a while. I mean, I'm on HRT, and it took 18 months to get yours right. You know, the dosage right for me. You know, and not expecting a miracle cure.
I think that's the trouble with HRT.
And same with supplements, and same with anything. If you're starting to do exercise, just to be patient and be gentle with ourselves, because unlearning takes such a long time.
Such a long time. I think that's I really am an advocate for fitness and understanding your body, which is how.
Not you, Lou. Not you.
Absolutely, man.
Especially jumping around in a bra and knickers.
But because
but no, it's great.
I've learned more about my body through menopause, and I feel more control in my body, so I understand how when things are a little out of kilter, I know straight away. And I don't know what the answer is or what's wrong, but I know that something's not right.
Well.
Yeah.
I mean,
and also the strength it gives me mentally. It's more the workouts for me. It's more mental.
Yeah.
But it also gives me a control in my body and a strength. Also physically, we need it, right?
But you know, there is evidence that things like yoga and physical exercise can actually reduce the physical symptoms.
I believe that strongly.
And it is also really important to keep your muscles strong. And if you feel physically strong, you feel mentally strong. One thing I want to also point out, menopause can be the result of surgical intervention or cancer. So we mustn't forget those, because
that's a huge
this is
swathe
a
of the
really
population.
much different kind of tea as when you go through this that way at the natural expected age, right? Because you could have your ovaries removed, and I'm going to take this ovary off, right? And then you are in surgical menopause.
Oh, that was very good. I'm slightly impressed by how you did that. Thank you very much.
You can have that. You can have my ovary.
Have an ovary.
Yeah. So, do you know anyone personally, or do you know women or people with who are in surgical menopause?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
I
gosh,
treat
yeah.
I treat a lot
about it on my
of
podcast.
patients.
Yeah.
Do you not find that's a slightly different journey that they have going overnight, pretty much?
And the thing
Well,
is
that's a
that
whole
it depends
different-
on how they've been supported as well.
Absolutely,
because I've spoken
yeah.
to,
Absolutely.
interviewed somebody on the podcast recently who went into surgical menopause overnight, and the doctor had just literally told her, like, she didn't get any kind of, whereas other people I've spoken to, and they've said, yes, they warned me, I knew it was going to happen, I had support, that kind of thing. I wanted to ask you for some advice around going to a doctor. We always say, make sure you speak to the doctor, make sure you go to the doctor. But for some people, getting to the doctor is a mission.
It's incredibly hard.
It might be because you need to get babysitters, you are a carer, you might not have a sympathetic...
Maybe you're embarrassed and you don't know how
you
to
lose
ask.
money, that kind of thing. But also, when you get to the doctor and the doctor dismisses you, or there's unconscious bias, so they're not really taking much notice of you, that kind of thing. It can be very, very difficult. What advice would you give to people who are listening to this who want to go to the doctor but are feeling like, oh my God, is it worth it? Can I be bothered? Or they've been to the doctor before and the doctor's gone, you're too young, you can't be going through menopause, or I'm not going to prescribe you, let's say, testosterone, because that's just for men or whatever. What would you say to them? Dr. Mandy?
Thank you. It's a really good question. And I would say believe in yourself, believe that your symptoms that you experience are real, right? They're real, that you experience, and no one has the right to dismiss them. Maybe you have to do more than one journey to the doctor. If you have been dismissed, then maybe ring your surgery to ask if there's any healthcare professional at the surgery who actually has an interest in this. Now, what is really sad is if you had actually seen that person who has the interest and dismissed you. But that is very unfortunate. But I do think now surgeries do have either a nurse or they have another health doctor who has an interest, an ambassador, someone who has had more training than everyone else. So that would be my person to go to. As a patient, you've always got the right to have a second opinion, so you can ask for referral. Now, this is another problem because we do not have enough menopause clinics in the country. If you do get if we do get referred, then there's a long waiting list.
Karen's on it.
It is an absolute shambles, really, the way women in general and women's health and reproductive health, how we are treated over our lifetime.
Really?
Yeah. But then I also do want to kind of support my colleagues a little bit, because I think things have improved over years.
Oh, I agree. And this isn't doctor bashing, but when I'm getting messages from, you know, people who have said, well, I did what you said, and I went to the doctor and they just sent me away, and I'm going, if you can bear it, go back.
Absolutely,
You know,
go back, be
That's
persistent.
so hard for people though, isn't it?
Keep a diary, a symptom diary. I find that useful, so that
there are apps you can use, aren't
you
there?
can use
There's
an
Stella
app,
there's the
a balance app,
Mm-hmm.
which gives you a report, and then because you only have 10 minutes, unpick your symptoms a little, and then look at what is really bothering you at the moment, and say, look, I haven't slept because of this or that, or this is affecting me the most, and then ask, could this be menopause? What do you offer me as a solution?
And you can also ask for double appointments, can't you?
You can ask for double appointments, absolutely. Of course you can.
You can ask for a 12-minute
You can bring a friend to support
The
you.
thing is, we don't, because we think, oh, they haven't got enough time, they're overworked, all that kind of stuff. But
I love double
you really
appointments.
need to we really need to put ourselves first, and so that is something that they should be able to offer you. So don't be afraid to ask.
It's so much easier when patients do that proactively, actually. And it's not always easy because you have to go past the reception. But once you've done that, it's actually, we really like double appointments.
Good to know.
GP receptionist.
Pass me the chocolate squeezy thing, please.
This one?
Hang on.
It's very satisfying, the
Yes.
squeezy thing.
And also, no one's used this one yet. So
I
just
love the
more
fact
in
that
it.
I'm learning so much from you. My main thing is, and I'm loving getting the science and the official proper stuff from you. I only have experience. I know I ooze doctor. I ooze doctor. I also ooze creative biscuit skills, apparently.
I like the creative messiness.
I don't get
You know,
I
and this
will
is
clear
what
up.
menopause is. It's a mess. It can be a mess,
I would
right?
also say that
Can we
creativity
also talk about the fact
helps
that
us,
no more
you know.
periods is not all bad? Can we talk about that, please?
The positives, yeah. So what Karen, what were your positive takeaways that
My
after
positive,
you've,
my life has completely changed. Menopause gave me my voice.
And how long
Yeah,
did that
same.
take for you to?
Well, this is the thing. I wouldn't say that I put a time on it. I started to go through menopause 10 years ago. Oh, good God. But I started to acknowledge and take myself out of denial 9 years ago. And then it was a long slog, but it was a day-by-day situation. When I left my job, when I left my career behind, I thought, oh, great, that's the problem. I'll get better now. And the complete opposite happened. Also, life, as it does, life. My aunt, Monica, passed away suddenly. My daughter wasn't very well and came home from uni. So a lot of stuff involved me focusing on them, because that's what we're socialised to do. So I didn't start to get better until a year later, but I did things like, I finally gifted myself therapy. I had put it off and put it off and put it off because it was too expensive. Self-worth is tied up in that as well. It's like, I can't afford that. I'd rather spend money on my kids than I would on myself, you know. But I chucked getting better. I chucked wellness things. So I'm a big fan of journaling. I'm a big fan of I am affirmations, and I spoke to the tree at the bottom of my garden for 3 years. For a good year before I noticed I felt different, you know, I sew and I started to get more into my, you know, creative practice, that kind of thing, which is why I'm loving this whole creativity, because this is a form of meditation. It is something, it's a mindful activity, even though we're chatting over it, that actually can help us when we're going through menopause. So I think for me it's taken a while, but I would also say that I think I started to be more honest with myself. I stopped kidding myself. I was like, you need fucking help, girl. You know, you need help. And I am much more gentle with myself these days than I ever was.
How releasing is it to be able to say that? I need help. I need help. Yeah. How hard is it for us, especially as women and mothers?
Why is that? Why do you think it is?
Because we're supposed to have all the answers for one. Everybody looks, you know, we always laugh when our partners freak out when we're ill. It's because we hold that shit together. That's our role.
And also,
everybody
we
looks
spent years
to us.
doing it ourselves. It's literally no one else is going to do it. Oh, I'm going to do it. It's just easier. And so you get used to just getting up and rolling up your sleeves and getting on with it.
And that is our mistake, really. And instead of asking for help earlier, like for example, I think I would, it does, but I feel like if I'd asked for what I needed in the relationship, if I'd asked for what I needed sexually, if I'd asked what I needed help with the kids, if I told somebody I had postnatal depression, my life would have been completely different. It blows my mind now that I'm out there, share everything I had. I couldn't share what I needed with my closest people, and that ended with the end of my marriage. And ironically, if I'd found my confidence in myself and been able to ask for what I need, not just sexually, but physically, emotionally, and all of the things, I might still be married.
Yeah, but then you'd be a different person, so we're not doing that. We're not
No. But trust me, I don't do regret, but it makes me curious. But then I also think, would we still be together if we got?
I absolutely did not need to be in that relationship that I was in, but at the same time, that relationship brought me here, sitting in front of you.
Yeah.
You know, and I, although I loved, you know, teaching, I loved the kids. Actually, it no longer served me when I got to 51. I know you're not regretting, and I'm just saying that all of these little steps take you where you're supposed to be. This is my belief. And even when I'm having shitty days and I don't want to get out of bed, or I'm screening phone calls or that kind of thing, I also know that tomorrow I won't feel the same. And I feel that when things don't happen, or when someone passes me over for a different gig or that kind of thing, I'm like, well, that's fine, because that clearly wasn't for me.
No, exactly.
Something else is coming. And I think that attitude kind of helps.
That
Purpose, having
so
a purpose is important.
It so helps. Did you always know you wanted to be a doctor? Was that something you knew from a...
Oh, that's a good
young?
question. That's good. That goes way back. Thank you. I always was fascinated by how the human body works. I started out wanting to be a doctor, knowing the most I can about the human body. I did have this desire to really understand how things work. And it could have been a car, it could have been a mechanic, but it happened to be the human body. So I really liked that. But I have to say, the way that medical school was in my days, I wasn't aware how badly it was designed. You know, when you opened an anatomical atlas, it was all based on, it was the man. The man is the medical norm, the male body, the male white body.
I was going to say, I was going to say, I was going there, so I'm glad you did. Look at the, can we just talk about that? That is my favourite one so far.
Over years, I think women need to find that our life cycle is different and that we have vulnerable stages. And those are postnatally, and those are perimenopause, and those in the menopausal transition. And our modern life is not catering for those vulnerabilities. We are not getting time off work to say, you know what, you've got a bit of perimenopause, you've got a bit of postnatal depression, you know what, we're going to keep your pay going, and you take 3 months off and look after yourself, and we're going to send you a housekeeper who cooks you 3 meals a day. Nice. Right? It's not going to happen. But the same applies to perimenopause. It's not like women or people who experience this haven't slept for a while, don't function at work. Very rare that the line manager comes up and says, you know what, you look a bit tired, do you need some time off? I know you've been looking after your elderly parents, do you need some support with that? Our life cycle is not catering. We are meant to be born, go through puberty and function the same every day for the rest of life. That's not the reality, is it?
No, I can't think of anything worse.
But that's why I think we need to acknowledge our weaknesses, sometimes our vulnerabilities, and allow rest, allow self-care, allow time for therapy, allow time for treatments, and support each other at the same time. And I think what Karen said earlier about spending time in nature. So exercise can be a form of stress. So also acknowledging that there are times for exercise and there are times for rest.
Yes, groups of women, or groups of people, socialise with women are...
I love a group of women.
A group of women
are the best.
Are incredibly uplifting, actually. Because we're actually often in society and patriarchy and all that bollocks, what they want us to do is pit us against each other. Yeah. Even in the menopause space, the media tries to pit people who want to take HRT against the people who can't or don't want to take HRT. And it's absolutely bonkers. But when you get us in a group together and then we start to talk, and we talk properly, we don't do the outside, I like your lippy, which is all great, you know, that kind of thing, but it gets more into the nitty gritty, and it's and you connect with, it's that human connection, isn't it? I think it's incredible.
All about connection.
I did host 2 menopause cafes. Anyone can find a space, a location where people get together and talk about their experiences in a non-judgmental way.
In the menopause cafe, spaces like that, do they feel inclusive? I mean, you know, are you usually just the only blackface in the room everywhere you go still in the menopause space, or is there more?
I can say that I love the idea of menopause cafes. I think they're wicked. And I remember attending one in one of the many lockdowns that we had, and quickly realising that I was the only black woman in the room. I'm cool with that. I was doing research anyway, and I wanted to find out a little bit more. But at the same time, I've had conversations, years later with people who were saying that it just doesn't feel comfortable because we don't start on the same space. Saying that menopause cafes and any group needs to be aware of being inclusive, and that will be along race lines, it will be around gender lines as well. It will be about not always talking about women, it will be about not always talking about 50-year-old women, that kind of thing. But I think it's really important to understand and respect the fact that we need our own spaces as well. South Asian women are not being represented. There are a lot more groups that are specifically for black people, for example, springing up. There's the Black Menopause Collective, there's Sister to Sister do something. Obviously I have menopause whilst black, and there's stuff online, there's Black Women in Menopause, there's a lot of different stuff, and the conversations we're having is it just feels safe. I recently ran a retreat in Barbados, the world's first retreat called the Joy Retreat Barbados, which is specifically for black women experiencing menopause or approaching menopause or in the middle of it or in the throes of it, that kind of thing. And I remember agonising and kind of, getting in my feelings about, well, should I open it to everybody? And actually, no, I didn't want to. I wanted to offer a safe space for women who look like me so they didn't go through what I went through, and that it means that we don't have to deal with microaggression. It means we don't have to explain anything, and so you start on the same page. And it was the best thing I've ever done. It was hands down. And I've done a lot of good things.
I'm very conscious of the fact that we're asking you to speak for every black and brown face in womankind right now.
If I didn't, I speak about my experience, and I don't talk about being an expert. I'm sort of an expert on me, but I know the conversations I'm having almost on a daily basis, usually on Instagram, because that's my social media weapon of choice. I want us all to be represented. And if that means I get to speak up for people who look like me, then I'm going to keep doing it, actually.
What's the youngest person that you've had come to you?
I tend to see, in my clinic, adults. I'm aware that you can be 11, from age 11, you can be menopausal, which is so POI,
Awful.
So that means that you might be born without ovaries, you might be born with ovaries that have never worked properly, so that you don't develop going through a normal
So they don't have puberty, they miss puberty.
Correct, and that's how it gets picked up.
Oh man.
So you have a puberty that doesn't start, you don't get breast development, you don't have the typical signs of puberty, maybe growth is affected. So usually these are genetic causes. So from age 11 onwards, it can happen pretty much at any time up till the age of 40, and that's what we call POI. Can you imagine, let's say you're 20 years old, you're at university, and you're having exam stress, and got your first boyfriend, and you're having hot flushes while you sit your exams, or you're feeling really fatigued, you can't sleep, you have been diagnosed, and you are on HRT while everyone else is on the pill, right? How do you justify that? How do you, how do you have to
feel
justify?
Weird, don't you, at that age?
Everyone's like, oh, why are you not on the pill? Well, I'm on HRT. Why are you on HRT? Then having to justify what's wrong with you. So that's a challenge. Then obviously, you may meet someone, and there are lots of people who are childless by choice. So, but this is a decision you make. It's your decision. But let's say that decision is taken away from you because you've never been given the opportunity to have a child. So that can really affect your identity of who you are, but also relationships, because it may not be so important in your 20s, but there might be a time later on when I have met women, sadly, whose partner have left because they were married, and after a few years they figured out they couldn't have children because they had POI, and they were left. They left them because their value was defined over their reproductive abilities. And this is a cultural problem as well, where unfortunately in some cultures, the purpose of a woman is to reproduce, right? So this is not fair. So I think fertility is one thing, but also the symptoms themselves and treatment needs to be much more on the ball. The doctors need to know what they're doing, because it is crucial that you get those hormones into the body, right? To prevent osteoporosis, to prevent cognitive function problems, to prevent cardiovascular disease. I think this is where there's a great lack of knowledge within the medical profession, where doctors don't understand it, but equally you can have several things. One of the things I'm also quite passionate about is not everything is down to menopause. We can have several other health conditions that are not related to menopause.
And know our bodies.
Exactly. And when you have POI, for example, you go to a doctor with a certain symptoms, and every time the POI gets blamed and they refuse any other investigations or to say, look, could be this or that, let's just investigate and have a look. And equally, when we're older, we shouldn't always assume that because we're a bit achy and that's always menopause. We can have rheumatoid arthritis, we can have wear and tear, we can have other conditions, we can have a thyroid condition when we gain. So I think it is much more complicated, and it is really important that healthcare professionals listen without judgment and then take it apart and then go in the right direction of maybe investigating. And that can sometimes not happen in the first appointment. That may require several appointments to get to the bottom.
Do you think it is
getting better?
Because I know that there are more doctors.
I think we are, slowly.
We're
training
having
and
this
that kind of thing,
conversation.
Slowly. I think what there is it's a two-pronged thing, isn't it? Where when women ask more, if we ask more, we may get to a point where doctors listen more, but it is hard work on the one hand, and then at the same time we need to have more education in medical school, we need to have more training for doctors so that they are more aware of this.
I will say that I'm really excited about the generations coming behind us. My kids aren't going to put up with this shit.
No.
They're like, listen, you mean to tell me that this is going to happen?
Nah.
I want this, and this. And I'm excited about these conversations, as difficult as they are, trying to get the government to sit up, trying to stop the media, trying to pit us against each other, all that kind of stuff. Because what's happening is it's example, which means that people coming up behind us are just not taking it. You know, it's going to be in legislation, it's going to be in the workplace.
Thank you for everything you've done towards that, though, as well.
You're bloody welcome. Thank you.
No, thank you. And thank you for being out there having a conversation. We haven't talked about sex, though. I just want to say it's got better, but that's all. That's all I need to say about that. I got juicier and hornier. So
I think that's about just knowing yourself better.
It is. Well, it is, I think.
I mean, I'm much more.
Also, I got a dick pic from a
aware.
26-year-old at the gym and got
There
very
you
turned
go.
on for the first time in 10 years and realised things had to change. So all sorts of things happen in the menopause.
Remember, we're also a generation, certainly my generation, can be quite, reticent to talk about sex. They don't want to use the words, they don't want to use they'll say things like down there, which I think you mentioned earlier. Yeah, and so learning about yourself and hearing people who are older talking about vibrators, talking about dildos, talking about, sex. Oh, sorry.
Shocking, Karen.
Stop it.
Shocking.
Talking about pleasure.
You're not an older woman that wants pleasure, are you? How dare you?
I know. And clitorises. What's the
Where is it
plural
again?
of clitorises? Is it clitori?
Clitorati.
Clitorati.
A women of clitorises.
Oh, in a clitorati.
a badass gang of clitorises.
Anyway, that can only be a good thing. What is the most positive thing for you that's come out of menopause, Dr. Mandy?
I think with the experience I have as a doctor and with the many women I've seen, they come to a point, whether it's because of their symptoms and whether it's because of the life experience, that they no longer put up with other people's bullshit.
Yay! You, tell me the best thing that's happened for you that's come out of menopause, with aging, with getting older and wiser and generally more glorious.
Hey! Menopause has helped me to find my voice. I was always loud. I was always someone who's into fashion. I always liked to be, have attention, that kind of thing. But I was masking a horrible life, and I was not being honest with other people or with myself. Hitting menopause, as awful as the whole going down bit was, the coming up has been absolutely and continues to be incredible. I say yes to lots more things. I love life. I'm curating my life the way I want to live it. So I think menopause can be a very, very positive experience. And once you get a handle on your own menopause care, there's absolutely no stopping you.
Oh, man.
Boom.
To that.
Lou, over to you, Lou.
I give less fucks. I feel hornier. I feel sexier. I found my voice. I found my purpose. I've never felt better in my actual life. And if you'd said to me, I got asked recently in an interview, how did you imagine getting older? What was your vision?
Oh my God, did you even imagine it?
I literally thought I'd be dead in a sex orgy in Vegas that involves some sort of drugs and multiple partners.
Wow.
I thought I'd be dead by now, genuinely.
It's not too late for that.
And instead, I'm having the time of my life.
Yeah.
Hell yeah!
To be honest.
Everyone's going to be desperate for the menopause after this.
I feel that for people who aren't there, or aren't there yet, or stop looking for your purpose, stop looking for someone else to save you. Just do you. Be present, do what you can, and do what you, as much as you can, do what you love, and seek pleasure, seek joy.
Fuck yes!
Oh my God, that was incredible. I feel like I learned so much, and I hope that you guys had a good time.
I learned so much. Sitting next to a legit doctor and generation.
Oh, do you know? Thanks for that.
I think this was just amazing, and I'm so happy that all of you are having these conversations with each other and with your communities and, you know, with patients. And oh man, I can't wait. I can't wait to get older. It's going to be great. It's not scary.
Thank you for having all the conversations as well. So amazing to be part of a community out there doing the work, talking the talk,
and decorating vulvas.
and decorating
vulvas and uteri.
And uterine ovaries.
Yeah. I will leave links to all of these women and their incredible work and everything they mentioned during this video in the description below. So definitely check them out and everything they do. And oh my God, yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.